Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2. Hey there, hi there, ho there. It is. Oh, good, great. It is 3:05 in the morning. It is 3:05 in the morning here. I don't know what time it is where you are, and I don't care. But I have been promising myself, as soon as I get some, as soon as I've been promising myself I'd get back on the air, so we're on the air. This is yet another day, yet another night, yet another broadcast of everybody's favorite little show. A blank screen. Ah, here we go. Spleen Squeezins. Hey, I don't know why I'm doing this. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. I am broadcasting at this ridiculous hour of the night, aka hour of the morning, because, quite frankly, my life has spiraled out of control. I kept promising myself, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do some drawing, and I'm going to do a live stream, and I'm going to do all this, and I'm going to, and just as soon as I have, I'm going to eat some lunch, I'm going to take a nap, go to sleep, get up, start a whole new day, and it never happens. It never happens. I'll be sitting here, I'll doze off in my chair, and what's left of it. For those who are wondering, okay, I have got 2 chairs in this house, 2 office chairs basically. One is a big fancy boss type office chair, more or less, and the other is a you lowly peon on the phone line chair with no arms. And okay, well, they're both broken. The small one's only rated to a couple hundred pounds. The big one is rated to 350, or it was. They both were. This is a posthumous notification because they both broken. They both broke, and the music stopped. Why did the music stop? Okay, there we go. I get upset when it does things like that. It unsettles me. Anyway, both chairs. I'm a big fat slob. I'm a big old fat slob, and I weigh, thanks to the fluid retention in my legs, and thanks to just being fat, but the lymphedema and everything. Well, basically, I weigh, last check, close to 500 pounds. Somewhere between 400 and 500 pounds. I don't even have a scale I can measure it with. I live in a trailer. Have no vehicle. Have no. I don't even have pants. I have like pairs of sweat shorts and hospital gowns I wear around the house. Bathrobe, hospital gown, sweatpant cutoffs. I haven't even tried the sweatpants on in months because I don't know if they fit. Anyway, I'm fat and I'm heavy and I weigh a lot. And I weigh way more than either of those chairs were rated for. And the other day I'm sitting there in the chair and all of a sudden, crunch! She just gave up and died. The little office chair is just broken. It's deader than disco. And so I'm currently sitting in my on its last legs office chair. Yeah, I mean, it's not just ratty looking. I mean, it's like the wheels are broke. I think one of the wheels is broken, and the suspension. Chairs come with suspension now. You know that. I think that's broken out, and it leans ominously to the right, no matter how you sit, and every time I move it, there's these ominous cracking noises, and well, you get the idea. It's broken. It's sit on a pole, but only barely, and it's going to go the way of the other one. Anyway, chasing past that point, I finally found online. I found Amazon.com. I went online, and I finally found an office chair that's rated for 500 pounds. If that don't hold my butt up, I'm just going to build a bench out of cinder blocks or something. I don't know. But it's a 500-pound rated chair, and they were down to like 3 of them, I think. And I said, they have 2 chairs in all of Amazon.com that are rated for 500 pounds. And I said, okay. And I didn't have enough to buy. There was one that was for sale for like 100 and some odd dollars. One was for sale for $214, and one was on sale for 100 some odd. And I had and the second one. Okay, I'm babbling now. Well, basically, they had a chair there. It's rated for 500 pounds. It was on sale for a couple $100. I didn't have enough to buy it straight up, but I did have enough to make a payment. The chair is going to arrive on Monday, and I'm going to be making $50 payments on it for the next 5 months, approximately the next 4-5 months. So you get the idea. It's going to be the first. It's going to be the first time I've sat in a essentially comfortable chair in ages. I needed it, and I hate having to get it, but I just. My monthly income, my base monthly income, which is through Patreon. Thank you all to my fans and donors and watchers. The base income is right now I'm about, not counting anything else, $450 a month. So you can imagine that. Oh, good grief! Man, no audio, no volume control on this music. I swear. What is it that why do they do that? Why you have one song you just quite nice and quiet in the background, and then the next one you don't touch the dial, but somehow it manages to jump in volume for no frickin' reason. An audio file, somebody who's really into music and into audio technology could go into a long spiel and explain to you. Basically, ever since the introduction of electronics into music, they have been tampering with the audio files that go out with the music and with the. It's why commercials are louder than the actual TV program. It's the reason that modern music sounds so bad, and it really is objectively bad, because in order to make it stick in your ear, and they basically they take an audio recording with all an actual performance, and they electronically shave off a huge portion of the information of the digital file. So basically, you're only listening to a flattened out version of what the musicians actually played. And that's before you get into all the things that musicians are doing right now. Everybody trying to make the top 40 pop song that sounds like every single other one. I'm talking about the actual audio, digital file, music file tampering that they do. It's basically like, imagine that you listen to the Philharmonic, and then you come home and you listen to a recording of it, and they have digitally erased about half the flutists, half the trumpets, half the drum. And only left the loudest instruments in the front. They digitally. That's what they do to music. They flatten out the file. I'm no technophile. I can't give you the technological terms for what they're exactly doing. Any more complicated than that. But that gives general idea. Yeah, the modern music really does objectively suck because why are they doing this? Basically to make it register as louder to your ears. So you're listening to like elevator music or music at a grocery store or whatever, and they use these tricks to make a new song that they put out suddenly sound louder, and you're sitting there, all of a sudden it catches your attention. Excuse me. Now there are other tricks that the songwriters use that are just as appalling. They have certain catches, certain hooks, and music stings that they use in everything. And a musician could sit down and point you out. They're as prevalent as the Wilhelm scream. Let's put it that way. And every song has them. Certain looping tracks, sounds, and so on and so forth. It used to be, for all you talk about how for all that as a conservative, a member of the Christian community, we talk about how how sick and weird and depraved and hedonistic the rock and rollers of yesteryear were. They were talented musicians. The Beatles and the Eagles and the Queen, and they would make rock music and use an entire orchestra in the background. They made actual music. Nowadays, what every jumped up Rihanna in the music industry does is they don't try and make music, they try and make a sound hook. It's as formulaic as boxed cereal. And you can tell. And all these people are going, old fart, nearly dead. They all say the same thing, and sometimes the old farts are right, you know what I'm saying? And it's not just old farts saying it, it's the young musicians that are coming up, and what's the name of that guy, what's the name of that group, the Foo Fighters? He's been ranting and raving about it for years. He absolutely hates. What's it? Let me look him up. What is the name of the guy? What is the name of the band? Yeah, the Foo Fighters, the lead singer of Foo Fighters. For those who don't know, A Foo Fighter, FOO fighter. It's an old reference. It's an old reference to a UFO. Uh, this was back in the during World War One, World War Two. Pilots flying over, Allied pilots would report seeing, basically what could only be described as flaming spheres flying in their air path, and just maneuvering like aircraft. They were the early UFO sightings, and the word "fu" means fire. In what Asian language I can't remember, but they called them Foo Fighters, and the Foo Fighter was a UFO. And just so you know, anyway, the lead singer of the Foo Fighters, he's a decent guy. His attitude is my family comes first, my daughters come first, my children come first, and everything else. Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl. He absolutely hates these talent shows. America's Got Talent and the like. He says because you got an entire generation of musicians, young musicians growing up, thinking that this is how you make it. That you go stand in line for a couple hours, have a screening with a bunch of obnoxious celebrities, and then you're a star. They said that's not how it works. That's not how you do it. That's not how you make it. So how you do it is you get together with your friends, you buy some crappy musical instruments at a pawn shop, you get together in the garage, and you wail away and you suck. and you come back another week, you come back next week and you practice some more and you still suck. And you keep doing it, and if you really mean it, if you really love it, you eventually become not so sucky, and eventually you become good. And you have and you do performances, but you say you gotta do, you said you gotta do the chops. And he says this instant escalator to fame. He says where these anointed people from on high reach down with their holy finger and touch you on the forehead. You are selected. No, that's not how it works. It's not how it worked for him. It's not how it works for anybody that's really that a real musician that really puts in the time. Those are the ones that last. You want to be a boy band, great. Be forgotten as soon as your bald spot starts appearing. And I got to agree with him. Yeah, he's pretty much nailed it right there. This is why people play the lotto though. Everybody thinks that one lucky break will do it. They think you get your lucky break and suddenly, kabong, there you are. Right? Wrong. Look, you can work your whole life. You can work your whole life and never, cross that threshold. I've looked at my own life, everybody's saying, oh, you got so much talent. Talent is cheap. It takes a special blend of talent and determination and tenacity and diligence, frankly. And sometimes, even though there are people that deserve to be great successes who never become. on this God's green earth, this is one thing that I have to face up to every day of my life, is the recognition that more than likely I am not going to ever be rich and famous. It's not what I'm here for anyway. It's not what Jesus put me on this earth for. If I should happen to become rich and famous, hey, I'm not going to complain. But as a believer, as a Christian, lay not your treasures up in the earth. There are a lot of people, those people that dedicate their lives to an art, that spend their lifetime working on it, and Christians in particular who dedicate their lives to an art or to a cause or to a mission. They may never they may never achieve great success in the ways that the world measures it. It's only in the hereafter, after we stand before God, that what we really accomplished will be known. Think about it this way, everybody knows who Billy Graham is. Everybody knows who, everybody knows about, the great Christian missionaries and preachers and speakers and so on and forth. Everybody knows who that. Everybody knows who Billy Graham is. Everybody knows who C.S. Lewis is. Everybody knows who Charles Spurgeon was. And but think about who. But can you tell me the name of the person who witnessed to Billy Graham or to Charles Spurgeon or to C.S. Lewis, and told them the message of salvation, or told them about, who gave them the message of Christianity? That person has disappeared into anonymity forever. Nobody knows who their name is. But to change the world, you never know what effect, you never know what effect what you do is going to have on people outside, out beyond your range of vision. You may not be you want to be a musician, you want to be the world's greatest musician, you may never be the world's greatest musician, but you may inspire the next greatest musician, to come along. You may never see success in your life, but what you leave behind may change somebody's world. And the terrifying thing is that could be for good or for ill. I hope that I've done a lot in the course of my life. Even a slacker like me, I look back and I count up how many different things. I mean, I have got my word, is over 20, 30 years of artwork and pictures and writing, and not all of it good, and in any sense of the word, and not all of it But I like to hope that some of it was worthy work in God's eyes. And I have no idea what effect that's going to have on people. I have had startling messages from people. I've had people write me emails and tell me that my comic strips. This is alarming. I have had people tell me that the humor in my comic strips got them through a time of depression, and suicidal depression. They even admitted, and more than one person has told me that. And that's wow. I've had a couple of people tell me that I changed their minds about important political issues. For instance, in one of my one of my fan fictions of all things, in the Warcraft, there's one point where the protagonist had rescued a woman from being mugged, and he was quoted as saying, next time you're out on your own, get something with a higher, get something with a little better caliber than 911. When he gives her phone back after he deals with a mugger. And one of the other characters is sneering and saying, "Great, just what we need, a bunch of frightened women running around with loaded guns in the streets." And one of the other characters, this is an old bumper sticker saying practically, this other character is a female, and she is known for carrying a gun at all times. In fact, in the story, that's her power. She has the ability to create any handheld weapon. She has an artifact that she carries with her. She can turn it into any type of handheld weapon, and usually some type of firearm. And when he says that, she just racks the slide on her shotgun and says, "Yeah." And she is an old bumper sticker slogan. She said, "Gun control is the proposition that a 98-pound woman should fight off a 200-pound rapist with her bare hands." And it was just supposed to be a point of passing snark between the two. And I had somebody email me and say, "Well, you've decidedly changed my mind." He said he'd never heard it phrased that way. And I'm like, never? Why are we falling down on the job here if I mean, this, if he'd never heard that phrase before. And he said, he said, you changed my mind rather seriously at that point. And he went on to say, "Oh, well, I still think we should have some reasonable gun control." And I answered him back, and what do you consider reasonable? When you let somebody else decide how well you're going to be able to protect yourself, you're their subject. But it started a discussion, and hopefully it brought them a little bit more around. But the point being is that this is a discussion you'd never expect to have. Now, I've complained a lot. I've had a lot of problems in the past where I write a story and people just get ripped up one side and down the other. Because I'd say something that offended their left-wing, social justice, atheist sensibilities, or I would state that I was a Christian, and all these armchair atheists would get up and argue, how dare I transgress and contradict the holy doctrine of Charles Darwin. And at the time, that the argument just seemed frustrating and aggravating and fruitless. But I don't know. I have no way of knowing whose opinion may have been changed, or whose mind may have been opened by those things. And I've noticed that it's well, let's just say it's usually secular topics that seem to crop up, but or marginally non-secular topics. But I hope that I have influenced people positively for the gospel of Christ, as at least as much as I have influenced them towards ideas like conservatism, the right to bear arms, the things we normally the things that we normally refer to as conservative or right wing or even libertarian. But I would much rather be an effective spokesperson for the gospel. Because for a selfish reason, I would like to believe that I am doing something that most expressly pleases God. Now, I'll say this: the values, conservatism, libertarianism, however you like to call them, right-wing family values stuff, those things are Christian in origin. Nobody wants to admit it. But conservative attitudes are the attitudes that created Western civilization. And Western civilization has gotten as far as it did precisely because of Judeo-Christian, or more expressly Christian, values, which inspires various progressives to sputtering bilious fury. The stuff we call right wing and try and shuffle off to, those are Christian values. I've talked about this before. Is that judgmental people with little education like to rant and rave about that they skim the Bible. They get the Cliff's Notes version off of a friend at Hot Topic and run with it. And the Old Testament, the Old Testament Hebrews, they legalized slavery, and and they let you stone women to death, and just grossly distorted factoids. It's hard to correct a bumper sticker. You get these people, they come out there and they say things about oh, they had slavery and they beat their women and they stoned their children and this was perfectly legal, yet you couldn't eat pork, and and just talking out of their backsides and not even realizing it. And the sad thing is that it took me many years to learn many of the things in full that I know now. And that's a crying shame. This is stuff that should be taught in every Sunday school. This is like as much as civics and history, not social studies, civics and history should be taught in every school. So the comprehensive details of the Bible and old biblical law and everything, they should be taught and understood and comprehended in full. Like, for instance, everybody talks about, how, women's equality. Consider this. They look back at the Old Testament laws about the relationship between a husband and a wife, that the man was the head of the household. But what they're not seeing is what came before. Well, the most extreme example I've given is, they talk, oh, you can stone your children to death in the Old Testament. Yeah, but you could stone your children if you were an ancient Greek, too, or an ancient Egyptian, or a Phoenician. Every civilization on Earth up to that point, children had less protection from society than livestock. I mean, even after the Hebrews were an exotic exception, because even in ancient Rome and Greece, it was perfectly acceptable if you decided you just didn't like your kid's face, you could kick him off a cliff. If you had a baby and decided you didn't want to try and feed it, you could just, leave it out on a hillside to die of exposure. Or of wild animals, more likely, I think. They died of exposure. Yeah, that's what they call hyenas. It was exposed to, buzzards. That's what it was exposed to. It was horrible. It was horrific. People, civilizations around, all around the Hebrews, the people in the civilizations all around them, on every border, sacrificed their own children to pagan gods. That's how little the life of a child was regarded. The Hebrew law was the first. The laws of the Old Testament were the first set of laws anywhere in the world where it decreed that if a parents, the parents had ultimate right over the well-being of over the upbringing of their child, but if the parents wanted to go out and get rid of their child, stone it to death, they had to come before the elders and the tribe, and they had to proclaim that the child was an unredeemable monster. They both had to be in agreement on that. They both had to say it face on to the elders with the whole tribe present, and the elders and the tribe had to agree with them. It was the first time that any civilization said that the life of a child was not something the parents could just simply dispose of. And they talk about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And you got the sanctimonious 60s hippie types. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Soon the whole world goes blind. You dumbass. You know why they said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth in the Old Testament? Because in every other civilization up to that point, the price you paid for committing a crime against another person depended widely upon what sort of person they were. If you went out and knocked out a peasant's tooth, if you knocked out a peasant's tooth, no big deal. But if you knocked out the tooth, if you punched the prince in the mouth, or the local baron or the landlord, in the mouth, and he lost a tooth, you could lose your head. And that was standard in all around the world. It is the first time that any civilization said it doesn't matter whether you're a prince or a slave or a milkmaid. If one party does injury to another, then they have to pay the price, and the price has to be balanced. It has to be equal. It has to be just and proportionate. That's what they meant by an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. They didn't literally take the tooth for the tooth and the eye for the eye. What they did is they had a great number of examples listed in the Bible of different situations and what penalty was to be expected to be paid. Usually it was compensating them for the loss, monetarily. But here's one for you. In every other civilization on Earth, thieves were maimed or killed. And to this day, in Muslim countries, if they think you're a thief, they'll cut your hand off. Such an enlightened civilization, right? In the Bible, in the Old Testament, it outright said nobody despises a thief who's, nobody sane or rational despises a thief who steals because he's hungry. But a thief was to repay what they stole, and they were to pay. It depended upon what was stolen. The thief had to pay 2 to 4 times the amount that they stole back to the person they robbed. They didn't take people and throw them. The Hebrews, didn't take people who had committed crimes and throw them in a cage for 5 to 10 years. Make sure they come out nice and hardened criminals. Penitentiaries were not a concept in biblical law. That kind of idea is foolishness. Because who does it benefit to lock somebody up? It doesn't help the person who is robbed. It doesn't help society. And it doesn't help the guy that's locked up. It doesn't help anyone. It makes buku bucks for the guy running the prison. But, as a way of correcting criminal behavior, it's a complete loss. But what they did is, if somebody stole a loaf of bread, they would have to pay back the person they stole from 2 to 4 times the amount of the loaf of bread. They'd pay back in money or they pay back in labor. In all regards, the Old Testament laws, they were the first laws that gave indentured servants rights and protections. The first one that said that women were, had protections as well, and that men had responsibilities to them. It was the first civilization was the first system of law that said that children were people too, and they were not to be, abused or disposed of like animals. On and on. They even had laws there that, that dictated how a man was to treat his livestock. Animal rights, hello. All these people running around today, animals should be treated kind of unfairly, and we are so progressive. We are the first people who ever walked the face of the planet that ever thought of this. No, surprise. The Old Testament had you beat by about 6,000 years. All the so-called progressive, all the truly valuable, worthwhile moral principles that Western civilization likes to boast of originate in the Bible and in Christianity. There are some principles that all civilizations recognize. We all have what God calls we all have a conscience that God has given us that pricks us and reminds us that of right and wrong. You cannot be self-aware without being morally aware. For instance, nearly every civilization on Earth has some variation on the phrase, on the so-called golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The Chinese call it, the Chinese phrase it this way: don't do to others what you don't want done to yourself. It's just like everything else, just like they're writing, do everything backwards. But they get the same concept. There you go. But it was the Old Testament Hebrew law that was the first where it was all collated together, formulated, put in form, put in shape, put in structure, written down in concrete form. And quite frankly, Christianity, the laws of the Old Testament, those are what you would call the bare minimum. The bare minimum necessary for what God would regarded as a civilization. Think about that. This is why later on in the New Testament, God said, you have to go. Basically, Jesus on several points, he said basically you have to go above and beyond. The limits listed in the Old Testament were, minimum necessities, and even then, the ancient Hebrews failed to live up. They couldn't live up to that minimized standard. Nobody can, because we're fallen creatures, and as C.S. Lewis put it, we're all fallen creatures and very difficult to live with. Oh my. I wanted to do some I wanted to do some drawing, work on some of these commissions. I haven't done any decent proper. I've only done some sketching and scribbling, and I've really not done much of that. But I have just I'm not sure if I have the focus or energy for it right now, or for anything. I'm debating on whether or not to go ahead and go get another. You see, I've been, like I said, I've already drunk all my orange juice. I discovered I can order energy drinks, and I can order orange juice and stuff through Amazon.com. Like, yay! I tried to look at, do they have bread? Do they have milk? They want $20 to deliver a gallon of milk. They want $18 to deliver 2 loaves of bread. I'm like, are you on drugs, Amazon? And I looked it up. I've checked grocery stores around here. You got Kroger's and Walmart and a couple others, and checked. Do you have delivery in this area? No. Oh, we have delivery in all sorts of places, just not for you. Jerks. I want to spend a little time on, I'm spending time on trying to, get the wheels in my brain rolling again. Like I've been saying, I've been struggling lately with anxiety. This is no technical or scientific or medical diagnosis. I haven't spoken to a therapist, but we live in a world where everything's so medicated that you need a a letter from your doctor to tell people you feel miserable. I've been the vitamin the I've been struggling a bit with struggling a lot with religious anxiety, personal spiritual doubts. And I don't know if it's cause or effect, really. I don't know if it's just me feeling so bummed that my brain's hunting down a reason to be so distressed, or that I'm distressed because of this. I don't know. But I've been, lately, for weeks I've just been anxious and depressed and apathetic, and just not getting enough sleep either. I really need a new. Among about 10 million other things that I need to do and need to get, I need to get a new. I sleep on an old futon, and I do mean old, as in the mattress should probably be burned. And I've been sort of sticking a pin in it that if I ever get a little spare cash, I'm gonna order a new mattress, a new futon mattress from Amazon, and have them deliver it here. I don't know if it'll be any, because right now I'm sleeping on it, and I wake up, and between my physical condition with my legs and everything else, and with a crappy mattress, I wake up and I wake up hurting. And so you can imagine what that's doing to my sleep. I'm terrible at taking care of myself, at conducting my life. I really am. I've got bags and bags of trash sitting around my house because I can't, because it's exhausting and painful for me to drag the trash down the steps in front of my house to the trash cans outside. It's a 15-minute, or it's a 5-minute exercise for me to get down my front steps because of the way my legs are, and that's without trying to haul 30 gallon bags of trash with me. And the roof needs patched, the floor needs patched, the wire needs patched, the house needs cleaned. I got trash on the floor. I got trash in bags. I got a sink full of dishes, dirty dishes, sold and nasty. They're nasty, and I can't wash because the sink's clogged, and it's just it's just any one thing. I could almost deal with it. I could almost more or less deal with one thing. Or find ways to work around it, but I'm just so bad at managing my own life that, well, there you have it. That I fall apart. It's tiring, and I'm always tired. Anyway, I'm wandering far afield with my blibber blabber, but I ordered some. I love Monster Energy drink. It's Yes, I know it's supposed to be bad for me and horrible for me, and when you drink too much, it'll kill you. It's you know you heard these stories. Kid dies after binge drinking energy drinks, and it turns out he drank like 4 liters of Red Bull in one sitting. 4 liters. And it's not mentioning that the kid was also kind of unhealthy. And he had some other medical problems. They don't mention that, The child dies of, it's always, it's melodramatic. But anyway, I've been limiting myself to about 1 can every 12 hours maximum. I've been trying 1 can a day, but it was more like 1 can every 12 hours or so. And the reason I was drinking is because it's not just the caffeine and taurine and other stimulants in it. It's not just the sugar. Monster Energy drink has, in 1 can, has 200% of your vitamin B3, 200% of your vitamin B6, and 200% of your vitamin B12. And all 3 of those can, deficiencies in those can contribute to depression. And I noticed that my mood perked up considerably after 1 can. And so I've been, I had about, what I do is I had 20 cans of Monster Energy drink and 20 and a pallet, one of those little pallets, 20 little 10-ounce bottles of orange juice. Amazon.com. And I got this big mug here. I would pour 1 can of Monster Energy and 2 little bottles of orange juice, because that way I get 200% of my vitamin C. And so I was getting my vitamin C, my B12, B3, B6, and I would drink that. Just one big mug, and it seems to be helping. I've already used up all the orange juice, though. I missed, I underestimated how much orange juice I needed. But I got to tell you, orange juice, why is it that they always make it and they never... I'm like, peel the dang things first. Are you back out there? Okay. It disconnected brief past couple of nights, and just have you ever been so angry and so frustrated with yourself? You're going, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing it? And you're going, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? And your whole body is going, oh, but I hurt and I'm tired and I just, I'm exhausted and I just, I've got among all the other 10,000 things I've got to do, I've got to that I'm not doing, like a response. I am failing at adulting. Okay, I do not know how to properly adult. But I've got to contact the the welfare and unemployment offices. I got to talk to them. Uh, Back when I was doing the campaign, the GoFundMe campaign, and once again, I want to say to all of you, thank you very much. Uh, you all are lifesavers. No lie. Maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to. But during the procedure, yeah, well, basically the welfare office calls up and okay, we got to review your application, see if it's I had a food stamp card, and they said and in all clean conscience, right now I'm doing a GoFundMe to raise money to pay off this huge tax and rent backlog. And of course, that complicated things dramatically. And I finally got all the proof together, all the forms, the copies of the checks and everything that I sent out to the IRS and the landlord and everybody else. But now, it's lapsed. The card lapsed. And frankly, I decided I wanted to try and see if I could get by without food stamps for a little while. Just for the sake of my pride, if nothing else. And yeah. And the pantry, certain things in the pantry are getting a little sparse, and I'm going, okay, as long as not a wise thing to do. I'll be blunt. I'd like to think that all y'all are conscientious enough to go, well, you're opposed to welfare, you're opposed to the welfare state. Why are you on a welfare state? Because quite frankly, one, I came to some basic conclusions about it. One, I can vote against it. I can speak out against it, but as long as they refuse to listen to me and keep putting it out there, my not being on it is not going to make it go away. And second of all, it's an ethical principle. If the only person who has any claim to legalized plunder is the person who raised a voice in objection to it, because they're the only one that did not voluntarily participate in the looting. If they opposed it and conscientiously opposed it and voted against it and tried to prevent it, well, they're the only person that deserves any of it. Yeah, like I said again, I may sound chipper, but that's sleep deprivation. It's 4 in the morning here, and I'm debating on whether to get a Red Bull, or rather a Monster. I don't like Red Bull. I tried Red Bull. I tried Red Bull once. It wasn't awful, but I tried it back when they were still field testing it. They were giving out, here, you want to try this? And they gave me this little bitty. I remember I was standing out there. They gave me this little bitty can. Oh man, this puny thing. I peeled it off. I drank it. Look, and they asked me my opinion of it. I said it tastes like a sweet tart. It did. Drinking a Red Bull tastes like drinking a sweet tart. I don't know if you know what that candy is. It's a chewable candy, very tangy, very popular around Halloween. One of those cheapy paper wrapped candies that they throw out by the bucket load. In mixed bunches with Tootsie Rolls and cheap plastic wrapped lollipops. Yeah, it's just Red Bull. Not what I'd call a taste sensation of a new generation. And I'll be honest, Monster is something of an acquired taste too, but I just prefer it. And plus, it comes in big cans, so you're not like drinking this little eeny can. But I don't understand why you can get sugar-free Monster energy drink and sugar-free Red Bull. Why don't they try to do something really, just blow people's minds, caffeine-free. Make it, just, take out the caffeine and leave the B vitamins in there and the sugar, and maybe throw in a couple other vitamins like vitamin C. Try and make it a more healthy energy drink. Man, did you see Hillary? Hillary is on the news. Basically, she said it outright. The Democrats are not going to be civil until we, she basically said, the Democrats cannot afford to be civil until we are back in power. Well, thanks for laying it out all on the table, lady. And I use the term loosely. I mean, good night, And first thought, thanks for laying it out on the table. We already knew that you can't be civil. Line 2 was, when are you going to start being? You never started being civil in the first place. She was basically giving her stamp of approval on them acting like screaming lunatic rioting animals until they get their, she basically said, we're going to throw a tantrum until we get our way. Now, I've been saying this for years, is that the conservatives' main problem was we're more concerned with being nice than with being right. You got all these people running on, and the hypocrites. Society was a hypocrite. Every time the Republicans tried to stand their ground, the conservatives tried to stand their ground. How dare you be so uncivil? Monkeys flinging poo at us and screeching about how we aren't civil. This isn't a tea party. Okay, this is, ironically speaking, this isn't little girls sitting around a table with their stuffed toys, trying to be all ladylike. This is a fight for the livelihood and welfare of our nation, for the future of our nation, for the future of our children and our children's children. And we are already fighting about, wrestling with a bunch of pigs in a mire. and trying to stay clean, keep our hands from getting dirty at the same time. It's stupid. That's why they hate. That's one of the reasons they hate Trump so much is because he doesn't care if they think he's nice or not. They threw us, when he was running for president, they threw a screaming fit. They went and dug back into his past, and found a 10, 20-year-old tape of him saying something off the record into a microphone, and it was crass, and they all went around, clutching their pearls, screaming their through. It's interesting how they get all pious and horribly offended by our incivility, whenever they're losing a political battle. And they go, oh, he did this, he said this sexist, offensive thing. And he said, yeah, so? He didn't deny it. He didn't apologize for it. Said, yeah, I said it. It was how many years ago? Great, you had your fun. Now can we get back to work? Can we get back to work? We got a job to do here. He's willing to use the same time. That's what they hate about Rush Limbaugh. That's what they hate about... what is the name of that one female conservative spokesman? I can't believe the name slipped my mind. But anyway, the more outspoken they are, the angrier they get. Because what they hate about it, they're using the same tactics that the liberals do, except for one thing. The conservatives are telling the truth. And it drives them bug freaking nuts. I don't know anything about Kavanaugh, and neither do you. Bet you don't know a darn thing about him. You don't know his politics, you don't know his stance, you don't know his personal life, you don't know anything. All you know is the noise the liberals made about him when Trump put him up to be put on the Supreme Court. I'll guarantee you one thing. Here's the breakdown. He's a constitutional conservative. That's what they hate. They wouldn't be screaming. They wouldn't have gone so far off the wall if he wasn't. They did the same thing with Clarence Thomas. I remember that. That was a circus too, just as terrible as this one. Well, no, actually, that one was slightly more civilized, but not by much. And wasn't nearly as ludicrous. And then when at least when they lost to Clarence Thomas, when Clarence Thomas ended up getting on the Supreme Court anyway, you didn't have Democrats and social justice women standing out in the streets, screaming, doing ritual performance, street performance screaming, or pawing at the doors to the Supreme Court building. Oh, let us in, just staged theatrics that would have embarrassed a toddler. I've said this before, this entire generation, think about it. 20 years ago, where were the current generation of militant activist leftists? 20 years ago, where were they? 20, well, let's say 2025. They were in daycare. You know, mommy and daddy. Daddy had to go to work. Mommy had to go to her. Go run her social life, and so they take the kids and dump them on a daycare center with one adult per 15 little 2-year-old children at the most vulnerable, formative time of their life. And my sister used to work in one of these daycares, and she said it was a nightmare. It was just awful. Things she described is these kids. These kids are at an age where they're the most vulnerable, when they most desperate. In the terrible twos, they need to be with mommy. And they got dumped with a complete stranger in a room full of kids they didn't know. The disease vectors alone are the stuff of nightmares. But this kid, you got one kid who's, he or she is having problems, and the only way they can get attention, in such circumstances, you got this one woman taking care of a dozen kids. The only way that poor child is going to get attention is by throwing a tantrum. And they spent their formative years learning that they could get the attention they wanted by throwing a tantrum. Now they're college age. And just past college, and they are still living by the principles they learned in daycare. If you don't get the cookie and juice you want, throw a tantrum. If you can't have the toy that you want, throw a tantrum. I mean, look at these people screaming at the top of their lungs, rolling on the floor, tearing their clothes off and running down the street. Tell me that isn't a typical tantrum behavior. Flinging poo, setting things on fire. And the lead cheerleader for that demographic, Hillary, standing up in front of the crowd. We are not going to be civil until we get back in power. We can't afford to be civil until we get back in power. She just waved the checkered flag for. She just waved the starter flag for. Let's throw the biggest tantrum in the world until we get what we want. Oh. I love these kids that are coming out there. They're running around in their Antifa outfits. Handkerchiefs tied over their face and vagina hats on their heads. We're gonna have a revolution. and I like one quote. He said, "You're gonna have a revolution, huh? What you gonna fight it with? Bongs and dildos?" I think that's what it's going to take to snap these people out of their horrible behavior, their horrible arrested juvenile behavior, is another Kent State. Quick history review. Kent State was in the 1970s, early 1970. They started doing another hippie protest, and it quickly spiraled into a riot. I saw footage of it. The cops were furious because the cameramans were cropping. The cops were coming. Why don't you photograph these ones over here? The cameramen were deliberately cropping the images, so only turning the camera so you could see the peaceful protesters over in one corner. Meanwhile, the others were practically tearing the campus down. one brick at a time. And they sent in the state militia. I forget what they sent. Where was it? My brain skipped a groove. They sent in the troops, and these Rhodes Scholars decided to charge a bunch of armed soldiers with nothing but rocks and sticks. And those soldiers did precisely what they were supposed to do. They pulled out their guns, they loaded, they aimed, they fired. And surprise, surprise, the riots came to an end. See, they thought it was going to be like a playground fight. They thought a revolution. Hey, man, this is not cool, man. This is a drag. This is a bum trip, man. We were supposed to be having a revolution. And then they had to go and bring guns. That shock to the system made them wake up and grow up fast. It's going to take another Kent State. They're going to find out that people who have built a civilization, built this country, and who are trying to survive and secure their future, and the future of their children, is not going to put up with this nonsense much longer. Oh, it's horrible that those kids died. Yeah, it's horrible that those kids died. They were picking at the Darwin Awards like they were going out of style. They thought they could fling rocks and bricks at a bunch of armed soldiers and not get any consequences. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. And these little Antifa shits, they're out there setting things on fire, dumping trash in the streets, flinging poo, attacking people. They're out there with bicycle chains. They take a bicycle chain, put a padlock on the end, and using it as a flail to hit people. They're out there hospitalizing people for daring to vote for Trump, to opposing their glorious, enlightened vision for the American future. One day they're going to come around a corner with that bicycle chain in their hand, and they're going to be facing a trooper who is armed with something a little bit more high caliber. That's what it's going to take. You take a kid that's a really spoiled brat. This is one of the things they do to, you take that kid. There's one parent was talking about how they had a way that dealt with the kid. You get these kids that try and get their way by holding their breath. The general recommendation is let them. Just let them stand there and hold their breath until they turn blue and pass out. They'll start breathing again. It's not the end of the world. Why would you fold like wet toast because little Timmy or little Tina threw a tantrum and threatened to hold their breath until they turn blue and pass out? Explain to me why that should motivate me to panic. Because I know they're going to pass out and they're going to start breathing again. They either going to give up and start breathing, or they pass out and breathe anyway. But anyway, this guy said he broke one little girl of that habit. He said what he did is he took a single sheet of newspaper rolled up in a big hollow tube, just one sheet of newspaper, just roll it up hollow and loose. And she started throwing one of her tantrums, screeching and then holding her breath. And the instant she started holding her breath, he picked up that hollow tube of paper, popped her over the head with it. It didn't hurt her. It was just a loose sheet of paper. But the sound shocked her so bad, startled her so bad, she started breathing again. She took in a gasp and started breathing again. And every time she'd try that breath-holding trick, and it didn't take long at all, she stopped it. She got the shocking message that doing that was going to cost her. She got it shocked out of her. That's what it's going to take with these people. And I'm afraid it's going to take a little bit more than a rolled up sheet of newspaper. My favorite animated clip. This about last year. Some bunch of kids were out there with their hoodies on and their masks on. Antifa, we're protesting, we're rioting, and here comes Mama. Here comes his mom. One of them, their friends were filming him, and his mom showed up. This big black lady, about 4 foot tall and about almost that wide. She came out. She hustled down on him. Just started. Boom, up and down, up and down, up and down, upside his head. Started chasing him down the street, grabbing at his shirt. Just boop, boop, pop, 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 pop. I laughed so hard I nearly died. I thought I was going to pee myself. I'm like, Jesus, if we could just round up all their mamas. Just set them loose. Oh, that was awesome. Crying shame that we don't get more women that do that. Where are these boys' mamas? Where are their parents? Man, I mean, you never saw somebody get the wind sucked out of their sails so fast as that big bad, he's gonna be a big bad, black rebel. You just got to. He's such a badass, and then he turns around and sees his mama. It like somebody pulled the cork out of his air valve, and then she was all over him. Oh my! We could put a stop to just about all. We could put a stop to Antifa. We could put a stop to the street gang. Just have Mama show up. I don't care how hardcore these street rolling thugs are. Oh my. Nobody listens to us. Nobody listens to us when we said these things. This is why Rush Limbaugh's second book was "See, I Told You So." See, I told you so. That's the refrain of Christians throughout history. Look, we came out there and we said, look, you go out having this, Christians came out and said, you go out having extramarital sex, it's going to cost you, it's going to hurt you, it's going to make you sick, it's going to kill you, it's going to make all sorts of problems, it's going to ruin your life. It might even end it. And everybody laughed, ah, you prudes. And out came the free love movement, smash monogamy. God help me, that was actually one of the slogans of the 60s, smash monogamy. One guy said he saw one of these progressive, one of these hippie weddings where that was the they had some druid priestess do the marriage, and then they cut a cake, and the icing on the top was written "Smash Monogamy." Oh, that marriage was off to a bang. Yeah, he said it didn't even last 5 months. What a surprise! And we said, extramarital sex is a problem. What did we end up? We ended up with the AIDS epidemic. We ended up with billions of children being born into to unwed mothers, and an entire generation, millions of people's lives ruined. These kids' lives ruined. The mothers' lives ruined. The parents' lives. It just and we had the ongoing abortion epidemic, and we said, we told you so. We told you so. Why didn't you believe us? A Christian stood there and said, homosexuality is not natural. It's not beautiful. It's not healthy. It's not right. It's a sin, and it will hurt you, and it will probably kill you. And what do we have? We had the AIDS epidemic again. We got and the suicide rate among homosexuals, even in communities. I mean, we're talking in communities where they are praised for being gay. Don't give me this. Oh, they have such a hard time adjusting, and they live in an oppressive society, and that leads to them to no. We live in a society that lauds them for being homosexual. You don't see nobody putting out any parades celebrating the fact that I'm straight. No, they got parades for them. They've got awards for them. They got Memorial Days for them. They got representatives of them in every television show on the planet. It goes on and on and on. And you got people in public schools telling kids, "Hey, it's okay to be gay. It's great to be gay. Are you sure you're not gay?" They got all the emotional support they need, and they still got suicide rates through the roof. The relationship life of an average homosexual person is a disaster, and that's not even touching on the health issues. No, we're not just talking AIDS. Look this one up on the internet. Gay bowel syndrome. Don't eat anything for an hour beforehand, though. Anyway, and we said, this is bad for you, and we're filling graveyard after graveyard full of these kids, and there's still nobody's listening to us. Christians have been saying for thousands of years, you can't spend what you don't have. You can't spend what you don't earn. And our entire economy runs on that, and the gears are already stripping out. Nobody listens. We told you so. And Christians have been standing against collectivism, Marxism, communism, all the other isms you care to name of the same mentality, and say, no, this is not right. This is not moral. This is not generous or benevolent or kind or whatever else they want to call it. You're not enlightened or more benevolent because you're a communist or a socialist or a socialist. No, you're not. Socialism is the doctrine of envy and covetousness. Decade after decade, conservatives, led by the Christians, have come forward and said, no, this is not only, it's immoral, it's unethical, and most of all, it doesn't work. We've tried it before. We've tried it over and over and over again. It does not work. It costs the world, and it kills people. And every generation just regular as clockwork, comes a new generation that convinces that shit don't stink. Say, well, you just haven't done it right yet. You can't do it right. The Soviet Union wasn't real communism. They didn't do it right. You can't do it right. Any more than you can drive an engine with all the gears stripped out. You can't drive a broken down car. With no, a car with no wheels ain't going to roll anywhere, no matter how much you wish for it. But that doesn't make it any less a broken down car. You can't convince them. That's sinful human nature. They don't want to believe. They don't want to believe God. They don't want to believe Bible. They don't want to believe the people who follow the Bible. They don't want to believe anything a Christian has to say. They don't want to believe their own history. They think that if they tie the towel around their neck and put their Superman t-shirt on and jump off a cliff, this time they'll fly for sure. Yeah, mama, the problem, is it's not just the fact that the mamas who are not involved. It's the dads who are absent. Little side note. Masculinity is not toxic. What masculinity is missing. We said divorce. I love these people. Where do you get it off of condemning gay marriage? I don't see you preaching against, like, then they say, oh, gay marriage is terrible. Well, look at how and then they point to the divorce rate among, among heterosexuals. What point are they making? What are they trying to say? They were obviously sleeping during the sermon because we've been preaching against divorce since it first started getting pushed through. We never stopped condemning divorce. But somehow the fact that divorce exists makes somehow the fact that divorce exists in real marriages somehow makes gay quote unquote marriages more legitimate. What? I heard this new one too. The conservatives say, don't abort the baby, don't abort the baby, and then a gay couple comes along and says the gay couple wants to adopt the baby, and the conservative says, no, you can't have the baby. Oh wait, let me see. The point is that in both circumstances we are looking out for the child's welfare. They can't, can't seem to wrap their heads around the idea that maybe giving a little boy or a little girl to two male perverts or two female perverts is not an ideal circumstance. I hate to break it to you, it's been proven just from the results of broken homes and the consequences of divorce, kids being raised by and unworthy, that a child needs both a father and a mother. And no matter how much, whether or not daddy wears a dress or mama paints on a beard, no. Only a man can be a father. Only a woman can be a mother. They've had testimony from kids who were raised by homosexuals. The ones that weren't utterly screwed up, weren't self-evidently screwed up, came out and said this was a terrible thing. It was a mess. The statistics came out. No, bad consequences. I swear the tobacco lobby should have hired whoever the gay community did. Everybody be running around calling you smokophobic if you didn't want somebody lighting up a cigarette in your house. You're saying that gay marriage is going to undermine the institution of marriage? Well, you already got divorce all over. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we know divorce is undermining marriage. What, you think having gay people playing house together is going to improve circumstances? Hey, we know we know that the car has 3 flat tires. We don't need you to puncture a 4th, just to make a point. Oh, and by the way, like we told you, slippery slope. Oh, if you brought this up, if you pointed out that the next thing up, now that they push through unwed motherhood, they push through divorce, they push through gay marriage, now they're pushing for pedophilia. Back in the 80s, when we started saying if we start permitting homosexuality to run loose in our society, pretty soon things like bestiality and pedophilia will be next. They threw a screaming fit at you, screeching like poo-flinging chimps. You hate monger, how dare you say you comparing gay people to pedophiles? Well, if the strap-on fits, honey. And what do we got? We've already got their homosexual community just running loose, and now that we've got pedophile organizations pushing for legitimization. Among other things, pushing the marriage, pushing the age of consent further and further down. Here's a little surprise for you. You know what the age of consent is in Mexico? 14. I wouldn't trust a 14-year-old alone with an easy bake oven. psychiatric associations have already, they no, years ago they quit listing homosexuality as a mental disorder, and now they've normalized pedophilia. They say pedophilia is not a deviancy. It's not a psychological disorder. They're normalizing it, just like we told you so. We told you so. We told you so. See, we told you so. It's bad mojo all the way around. Nobody wants to believe it. Think about this. This is what. Can you imagine what Noah went through? This was the life of Noah. He spent 100 years building that boat, and he spent that entire time preaching to his neighbor. Repent. This is God's going to destroy the world. This boat we're building is the only way we're going to get out. And after a century of witnessing and testifying to his neighbors of the oncoming doom, the only ones that got on board were him, his wife, his 3 sons, and their 3 wives. And that was it. Convert rate of 0. This is why so many missionaries give up. They burn out. This is why so many people just give up. They reach a point where they feel like that's it. They spent their whole lives pissing against a wall. Pissing into the wind. What good does it do? It's a tough road to hoe. I gotta apologize to her. I was going to spend this time drawing, but my get up and go just got up and went. I spent this, wanted to draw. Now I'm tired. I'm feeling burnt out, and I haven't been able to get anything done in ages. And I hate that about myself. I really do. I hate that about myself. I don't know what I would give to be able-bodied again. physical problems, I don't, I mean, uh, it pisses me off that it is the 21st freaking century, and my medical condition, the best they can tell me is lie down and keep your feet propped up, wrap up your legs tight. What, great. All I have to do is spend about 2 weeks lying in bed with my feet elevated above my head, so that my legs will shrink down, shrink down to close to normal, and then wrap them up, and then spend nearly all my life lying in bed with my feet elevated still. So one form of idleness to another. It's things like this that make me feel like my time is almost up. God's going to hit the buzzer and say, okay, that's it, out of the pool. Because short of a miracle, I don't really see these circumstances changing. Of course, I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling seriously depressed. So nothing looks like it's going to get better anyway. But rationally speaking, I am just a couple of years shy of 50, and physically I've been put through the ringer. Not one great big huge horrible thing, I suppose, but plenty of small things that are, well, middling sized things. I had tachycardia, for crying out loud. They had to go in, do an ablation on my heart. It's not what you call peanuts. I've had my gallbladder pulled out. I've had two different hernia operations. I've had kidney stones, and I had to go under the knife 3 or 4 times just to get those damn things out of me. Pardon my language. You better believe I spend a great amount of time praying to Jesus that I never get any more. But there are your odds. I'd hoped that by the time I reached this age, I would be, secure enough that I had finally gotten my act together, and that I'd be secure enough that I'd be able to travel a little bit. What I wanted to do with my life was to eventually reach a point where my business, my freelance art and everything, I could do it from anywhere with a good internet connection. And so I was dreaming of someday getting either an RV or a vehicle and a trailer and just traveling. Live out of the trailer. See a little bit of the world, see a little bit of the country. Visit all those weird sites on some of those, exotic website locations, But no. Lifetime of missed opportunities. Not really sure how I can take better opportunities now. I really don't. I'm not sure. I can't even seem to keep my house properly cleaned, much less build a better life. It's a little exasperating. I'd like to say I'm trying not to let it get me down, but I'm down. I've got stuff that's got to be mailed out to people that hasn't been mailed, and yet I can't mail it out because I haven't got any cash set aside for the postage. And you know how ridiculous that is. It just, of course, some of these things are out of country, and I gotta send stuff off like that. You ever heard the song "A Hole in the Bucket"? There's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza. There's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza, a hole. She says, she asks him to fetch some water. She sings that there's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza. And every problem, every time she gives him a solution to fix the problem, there's another problem behind that one. And he can't. And finally, it comes all the way back around that in order to fix the last problem, he needs a bucket of water. But there's a hole in the bucket. And that's consider me an object lesson in taking care of business. Consider me a bad example, better yet, because you let things slide. You go. It'll wait a day. It'll wait a day. It'll wait another hour. It'll wait another day. It'll wait another day. And if you do that to enough things, you only need to let two or three things slide, and then suddenly you're caught in this web of things that all need to be done and needed to be done months ago, but you can't do any of them because everything else needs to be done like yesterday too. Everybody knows these things. Everybody knows these things, but living them, being responsible, being organized, having your life on track and your circumstances orchestrated. Me, I can't seem to get things organized together to get all the trash out of my house. I've got just within line of sight, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bags of trash just in my living room. Why? Because it's an ordeal for me to get even one bag down the stairs to the trash cans before the trash people collect it. Now I have somebody that I can hire, that I can ask to do work for me. I don't have enough trash cans now for all the trash. And so if I stack them outside, that's just saying, please, dear neighborhood stray cats, please come here and scatter this from here to Kingdom Come. And I've tried looking up, seeing if I can get a dumpster or something, but they don't do that kind of thing. The trash people don't do that kind of thing. And what I need to do is I need to find somebody who has a pickup truck and the location of the nearest dump. I also need a fistful of 20s to do that all. My house is in the condition of my life. To joke, my house is a double-wide trailer. It was built in 1971, the year I was born. It's the exact same age I am in. It's also in the same physical condition I'm in. Thinning on top, bottom falling out, plumbing doesn't work right, gas problems. But seriously, the gas lines in this place, a couple of years back, I used to have gas, gas heat. I don't like gas heat. I don't trust it. I can't trust it. I can't bring myself to trust all it because I know it. Look, electricity is dangerous, but gas has 2 or 3 different ways it can kill you. And I'm like, and everybody's like, oh, but it's so much more, it's so much cheaper than electricity for heating your home and everything else. It's so nice. It's so nice. Yeah, it can burn up all the oxygen. You can run gas heaters, and they can suffocate you with carbon monoxide. Or the pipes can spring, one of the pipeline can spring a leak, fill your house with gas, and then somebody lights a cigarette and boom. Just. Okay, electricity has a lot of problems, but exploding generally isn't one of them. And suffocating people is another one that you don't usually see with electricity. So, but anyway, the gas lines in this place, this place is so old, the pipes, the gas guy came out and he looked at the lines, and I had leaks in the lines, and he said, well, we can't fix them. And I said, why can't you fix them? He said, because all these pipelines, they need to be ripped out. They no longer are up to spec. They had changed the standards over the years, and the gas lines in this house are no longer legal. So I've been without gas ever since, and I cook with a toaster oven and a microwave. I've got this big stupid gas oven sitting there in the middle of my kitchen, taking up precious cubic meter of space, and I can't do anything about it. All the gas lines in the house need to be replaced. I can't do that. I can't afford to have it done. The wiring in this place is frightening. The back porch light does not work anymore. The lights in the kitchen, the ceiling lights in the kitchen do not work anymore. And I know it's something to do with the wiring. I couldn't begin to fix it. I couldn't begin to dream of fixing it. I couldn't begin to dream of hiring somebody to fix it. And this place, if it gets too high, I have to be careful. Turn on too many things at once, and I throw a breaker. And this is in a trailer. And it's not like I've got power tools running, for crying out loud. But, turn on too many things. I managed to plug everything in so that the lights... It's old wiring. It doesn't, it's all 2-prong outlets. And I'd like to kill whoever designed it, because they, it's these... the lighting in the place is terrible anyways. Is these stupid little candelabra-looking things that are stuck in the corners of the walls, the corners of the rooms, and they have it's 1970s style lighting. It's terrible, and the place is decorated with fake wooden paneling. Fake wooden paneling. Find a person that invented that crap and beat them. It's terrible. It looks tacky. It looks awful. It looks. I would rather have plain, flat, one-color walls. For one thing, it would be a lot brighter in here. These dark pseudo wood panels just make the place dark. And I've got great big huge picture windows in this room that I'm sitting in right now. I got 3 pictures windows in my living room. I do not need 3 picture windows in my living room. I do not need 1 picture window in my living room. I've had to hang. I've got blankets and things hanging up over the windows, try and keep the heat in. This is another punchable moment. The back door and the front door don't. The back door and the front door don't lock. They can't lock. They don't shut. They don't even shut properly. They're held shut with a chain. And everything's warped and bent, and the floor. There are holes in the floor. I've got panels of plywood down, some of them on top, some of them under the carpet, so that I can walk on the floor without stepping on a hole. And the place, I can't even keep it clean. It's so frustrating. Uh, if I could just find one, the girl that I pay to do errands for me, she doesn't even live in this trailer park. But she was the only person who took the job, and she can only come out here, on certain times of day, certain days of the week, and I need help, but I can't afford to just money, 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 money. I don't have any money to give her. I owe her $50, and I had to put her off for an entire month because I didn't have money to spare in the bank. I'm 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 embarrassed. I'm ashamed to be living like this, and I can't seem to pull it all in one sock. So frustrating. It's so frustrating. This is one of the things that our society has gotten very, 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 very wrong. You look at the way we build our houses, you look at the way we build our cars, the way we build our stores, the way we build everything. We build everything as if we think we're going to be 20 years old forever. I blame the baby boom. I blame the baby boom largely because I like to blame the baby boom for everything. But the baby boom, you had to, people came back from World War II. They had, they started the suburban sprawl. They started these housing, these prefab neighborhoods. And everything, and these gated communities, the whole 9 yards. And suddenly we had this huge surge in our population. Baby boom. Kids all over the place. And once they came of age, the entire world revolved around the baby boomers. And the problem is that the baby boomers are stuck in believing they're still 20. We built thousands of houses and trailers and businesses and everything for the baby boom. But the problem is we built them as if we built an entire society. We rebuilt our entire society for a bunch of 20 and 30-year-olds. And they're not 20 and 30-year-olds anymore. But the houses are still there. And every house is built as if the people living in it were going to stay 20 years old forever. Narrow staircases at all. Bathrooms, bathtubs in a bathroom that you have to climb in and out of. Just poor lighting, poor housing, poor insulation. Just countless things I could list off. They're terribly inconvenient for anybody who has reached an age where they're starting to get in physical decline. They don't build cars comfortably excavated for older people. They don't. They. This is why you see these little old ladies driving around in great big huge Oldsmobiles. Because that was a comfortable car back when they were in their 20s and 30s. And we build and construct and plan everything as if we're going to be, running about, prancing about in young, healthy, physically fit bodies forever. I want to scream at the people that designed the bathroom in my trailer, because I would give anything. I would give anything to have enough, just enough cash to pay somebody to go into the bath, and shoot. Let's be honest. By the time I got everything that is wrong with this place fixed, heck, by the time just getting this place clean, I would love to just have enough money to get this place cleaned up from front to back. It would take I don't even know how much money to pay somebody, pay some people to come in here and haul the trash away and clean everything up. But if to fix this place up, to get everything that's wrong with this place fixed up, would cost as much as it would cost to get a whole brand new trailer. Me, I'm straddling the. I'm straddling the poverty line like a man trying to slide down a picket fence. Right now, I can't even afford to right now, even if I could get out of the house and even if my car was running, I still couldn't afford to go out and buy some groceries, a couple of loaves of bread and stuff right now at this moment. When you get old, when you get really old and physically unwell, it's no longer a matter of, oh, I'll do it myself. It stops being a matter of being lazy, and it stops being a matter of being rich, And like I said 1,000 times before, my father, he's still out there building stuff. He built a work shed out behind the. He turned the backyard of his and Mom's house into a garden. He built a work shed out behind the garden to boot. Great big full size, the kind you can go in with, and work with power tools inside, kind of thing. Not just a little shack for putting the tools in. It was an actual workshop size shed. And he built it himself. And he's nearly 70. Me, I consider it a grand day of achievement when I actually managed to get off my butt and scrub the toilet. I come from a long line of do-it-yourselfers, and I can't do. I'm in a position I can't do anything for myself. I pray to God my parents never come by for a visit, because I don't want them to see this place. I don't want them to see they've been here before. They know that I'm a slob, a disgusting slob, but it's gotten really bad right now. So this is the most positive thing I can do with my situation right now is just grab you guys by the shirt collars. Don't end up like me. Don't plan. Just plan ahead. Man may plan and God may laugh, but still plan anyway. Have some options, because that's why you have fire extinguishers, because you pray to God that you thank God if you never needed the darn thing, and then you thank God if you do. You know what I'm saying? And don't wait until it looks like the house is on fire to buy a fire extinguisher, I didn't listen to that advice. I didn't listen to anybody's advice. I basically let my life off the leash till I was in my 30s. Couldn't get myself, no self-control, no, couldn't organize anything. Couldn't get my life straightened out. And the sad thing is I wasn't, it wasn't because I was a bad biker, heavy drinking rebel, with a cool backstory, right? No, that was not me. Not in the least. Now, I wasn't some rock and roll rebel. I was a I was the basement dwelling, nose picking loser type. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. Don't know what I'm going to do today. Because, I'm in the middle of a crisis of indecision. Usual consequences, I end up doing nothing. None of anything. I wanted to sit down. One of the things I wanted to do during this broadcast was sit down and do a drawing, but I just haven't done any drawing yet. I guess I just needed to talk. And, have you ever been sitting there? You've been lying in bed. Have you ever been lying in bed, or you ever been sitting in a chair and you say, "Okay, get up. Okay, it's time to get up. We need to get up. Get up. Get up." And you're all but literally screaming at yourself, "Get up! You gotta get up!" And have you ever been in like that? Have you ever been like that? I'm like that every time I try to get up out of a chair. It's like I've ran out of craps to give. I need to. I think that's I think I feel I think I feel that if I could get this house, if I could get the money together, and I could get the help together, and I could get this house cleaned out, clean from back to front. I can't sweep the carpets. I can't even see the carpets because there's so much crap around. If if I could get this place clean, I could get things back on track. I could feel I could if I could do that, that would be the first block. The first building block. Because I'm not living. I'm living. I spend all my time sifting through piles of crap for things. Can't wash my dishes because the pipes are plugged. I'll be able to wash one or two dishes at a time, but I got a sink full of mungy dishes. Because if I try to wash one, the sink will fill up with water and it'll take like a day to drain. So sort of puts a hitch in things. This is what I'm talking about. You let things get out of hand. You think, oh, it won't matter for a while. The next thing you know, it's piled up on you, and you can't dig yourself out. And the sad thing is that the girl that I hired to do odd jobs, she may not be able to come by anymore. She's her grandmother died just last week, and I'm not really clear on the details, but she's somehow, her transportation is arranged with her grandmother in some fashion. I thought she had I understood she bought herself a car recently, and I don't know what the circumstances are, but apparently this has got her tied up in knots. It was sad. She was a nice old lady. I only met her a couple of times. She was driving Alethea here. She was nice and friendly. And, oh, if you need any help with anything, you just call us. It's sweet of her, but and she passed away. Uh, Heart goes out to the poor girl. I think I'm having a breakdown. I don't know. I don't know what a breakdown is like. All I know is that I spent a lot of time wishing I could just crawl off, curl up in a hole, and pull the lid in after me. Imagine needing to clean the trash out of your house but having no place to throw the trash. That's another thing. I'm behind on paying the trash men. Got a bill for $100. It's yeah. I got things people are waiting for, expecting from me that I haven't even started on. I've got things that I've just. Some days I just want to close up the lid and just disappear. All I can seem to do is go online and have a pity party, isn't it? It's not a way to live. Still, still got that whole hole in the bucket problem. Figuring out what to do first. Ah. Oh, the nearest landfill is across the river in Parkersburg. There's a North American recycling place here in Marietta. Don't know what they do. Well, I don't need recycling. What I need is a place, a big hole to dump everything in. My family, we used to live out on a farmhouse out in the country. I'll tell you one thing. We had a burn barrel for our trash. We had a couple of burn barrels, I think, come to think of it. Anyway, you better believe that thing got a lot of mileage. It probably saved us tons of money and time and effort. It probably saved us a fortune. Take out the burnable trash out to that dang thing and had a compost heap too. Compost heap, a burn barrel. Those two things alone probably saved us a fortune in trash collection. Good night, almighty. Wish I had either of those. Not where I live. What a world. There are days I've contemplated a little wood-burning stove. I could probably keep my house heated all winter on the junk mail they send me. Here we go. Washington County landfill. Here we go. Waiting for it to grind around to Let's see. Let's see it. There doesn't appear to be a Washington County landfill. Fudge. Don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Okay, I'm really tired, and I've wasted another week. I've just wish to God I had somebody I could. Uh, I need this. I just. I. I. I feel gridlocked. I need to do everything. I have nothing to do anything with. I'm tired, but I don't know if lying down for a couple hours will even help. I'm starting to reach my I can't really think straight anymore. I just can't can't seem to pull myself together. Maybe because I've got too much to pull. But, I remember once we moved into a house when I was a kid. When I was a college kid. I was 17, 18, and my parents moved into a new house with my sister, and they moved into that house. It was incredibly even worse than the situation I'm in. It was a little home dating all the way back to the Great Depression. And the last people who lived there apparently didn't bother with that whole trash collection thing. What they did is they literally filled two entire rooms of the house with bags of trash. Uh, Literally, uh, I mean, you had to climb in through a window and stand on the trash. It was that horrible. And we had to, Dad had to call some friends. They brought out pickup trucks and Dad got his own pickup truck, and we took like 2 or 3 days just dressed in grubbies and with work gloves, lifting out practically fossilized bags of trash out through the window. We couldn't get it out through the door. You had to get it out through the window and fill up this. 2 or 3. I forget how many trips the pickup truck the pickup truck took to haul this trash to the dump. It was awful. It was unbelievable. Cleaning the place out was a nightmare. I remember going on visitation with my dad, seeing people who are living in conditions like I'm living in. Just trash everywhere, and stuff piled up on counters, and molding dishes in the sink, and being horrified. And here I am. I'm living like that now. And there is nothing that quite makes you hate yourself. Speaking from experience, there's nothing that quite makes you hate yourself than living like this, living in a trash pit, living in a way that you swore you would never happen to you, and you can't fix it, and you're not sure even where to begin trying to clean up and fix things, and you don't even have a way to get rid of the stuff that you have to throw away. How do people bootstrap themselves up out of situations like they've reached a position, they've reached a place where they can't help themselves. They can't. Things have gotten so bad that it's all hope feels like it's all hope is gone. You know you can fix it, but you just can't see how. And one side of you is swearing, get up, you can do it. All you have to do is keep at it. All you have to do is try. All you have to do is keep at it. Go, go, go. And the other half just wants to lie down and die. I think maybe that's my goal for this coming. I think that's my goal. I think that's what I'm going to be doing for the foreseeable future. I'm probably going to be offline. Probably going to be offline and unavailable, and cleaning house, and Probably not going to be getting, not going to be available online until I get it done. God only knows how I'm going to get rid of all this trash. Uh, I've got to do something. I've got to do something about my life, and this is where I've got to start. Just wish there was somebody I could ask for help. Just wish there was somebody I could pay to help. I would much rather pay somebody to help out than to just beg them to help out because you're a good friend and a good neighbor, and and handing somebody a few bills sort of puts up a wall around your self-esteem a little bit. So I think I'm going to go offline. I think I'm going to call it a night. I think that I'm just going to have to start cleaning. Start calling people and begging for help. Y'all take care of yourselves, and take better care of yourselves than I take care of me. Really. I'll catch y'all later. I don't know when, but I will. Y'all have a good night.